there's been a lot of Pokemon leaks that came out recently. A lot of beta leaks of early versions of some of the games, whatnot. The most interesting thing that I found was the X and Y beta version. There was some pretty cool stuff that never made it to the final release, and some pretty crazy changes that would have made a lot of difference. The coolest thing in my eye was that there was a whole Mega Evolution that was completely canned. It was scrapped, thrown in the junkyard, completely destroyed. And that was Mega Jynx. I think they probably didn't go with coming out with Mega Jynx because Jynx has a lot of controversies around it. But honestly, the Pokemon needs the help. It hasn't been good since Gen 1 and 2. The controversy shouldn't matter anymore because she's purple now. Everything's good now that she's purple, right? Well, either way. They found a Mega Evolution in the 2012 beta version of X and Y. I might put the link to the Reddit thread or something like that in the description, or I might not. I might not care. You might have to take my word on it. You can look it up if you want to. I don't care to prove it to you. But yeah, so, well, if Mega Jynx did come out in that fabled game in X and Y, would it have been good? Now, just to say, there's Mega Evolutions only in Generation 6 and 7 officially. They didn't make it back to Generation 8 and 9, but in the unofficial tier that people play called National Dex, people are allowed to use whatever they want, including Megas. Now, I'll say it right now. I don't think Mega Jynx would be able to keep up with modern Pokemon. There's been a lot of power creep, and especially the speed of all the recent Pokemon have been a little too much. But in the generation that Mega Jynx would have come out, Generation 6, Mega Jynx might have cooked. So let's look at the differences. I'm going to show the differences. Alright, first, let's see the stat changes. Jynx. Alright, these stats kinda undercooked. This is a late game Pokemon, by the way. Yeah, pretty crazy. But this Mega Evolution, it helps quite a bit. What I will say is it gets 20 new points into its defense. Yeah, who cares? You're still gonna die to one Sucker Punch anyways. Jynx is still gonna get folded by priority physical moves, or just fast physical Pokemon in general. Yeah, don't try to increase Jynx's physical bulk. There's no point. Its HP stat, well, those don't get increased by Megas, so that stays pretty pathetic. But that special attack stat, we love to see an increase to the special attack stat. That's beautiful. 145, that's really solid. That's the same as Chandelure, although that's a regular Pokemon, so that comparison kind of feels a little mean. Either way, that 135 special defense, pretty solid, tied with Fluttermane. But the one thing I will say is that speed stat, 105, it kind of passes in Gen 6. Like, that's fine there. But seriously, they could have cooked a little bit better with that. Maybe take those defense stats that you added, the 20 in defense, put it right into speed, 135 speed. Ooh, that would cook. But I still think there's potential for Mega Jynx, especially because that new ability it got, that's a very good ability. Magic Guard is known as one of the best abilities in the game. Magic Guard is fantastic. It makes you ignore all non-direct attack damage. So statuses, Sandstorm, hazards, that's the most important one. Jynx has a crippling Stealth Rock weakness. It's a really big deal for Jynx, and now Jynx would be ignoring it. Although it wouldn't ignore it on the first turn because you haven't quite Mega Evolved yet. Either way, that's still a big help. Magic Guard is much better than what Jynx had before. Part of the reason Jynx has fallen off since Gen 2 is they introduced abilities, and every ability they've ever given Jynx is useless. And Magic Guard is a much needed fix to that. Now, the reason I think Mega Jynx has some potential is because Mega Jynx has the ability to use its unique move. Jynx has a move that no other Pokemon has called Lovely Kiss. Now, some other Pokemon had it all the way back in the days of Gen 2 due to events, I'm pretty sure. But they all don't have it anymore. You can't you can't trade those Pokemon up. So, Jynx is the only Pokemon with Lovely Kiss, and it is a 75% accurate sleep move. Now, 75% accuracy isn't that great, but it's actually pretty decent for a move that puts you to sleep. And the important thing about Lovely Kiss is that you can't switch into a grass type to block it. Some other moves like Sleep Powder and Spore, you can go, oh, I don't want one of my Pokemon to fall asleep, I'll switch into like my Ferrothorn or something. Well, no. You can't do that against Lovely Kiss. Your ass has still been put to bed. Yeah, so that's actually, it's pretty solid. So, Mega Jynx is going to take great advantage of that too. That's what I was going to mention. So, a lot of Pokemon that get sleep moves, unfortunately, are defensive Pokemon, where, yeah, it's good that they just put your Pokemon to sleep, but they're not gonna capitalize on it as much as some other Pokemon would. This is why I think Mega Jynx will actually have a niche against other Psychic type Megas like Mega Alakazam and whatnot, is because of Lovely Kiss. And it's generally pretty good move pool in general. So, I'm going to go to the next slide and show you some of Jynx's moves that it could cook with. These are some of the moves it has in Gen 6. The first one's an actual set that I think we'd probably see, while the second one is just some more moves that people may use. That's not actually a set. Oh god, that would be an awful set. But Jynx actually got Nasty Plot, the special equivalent of Swords Dance, a beautiful boosting move. Jynx actually got Nasty Plot before Gengar and Alakazam did. Pretty impressive. Now, if Mega Jynx put somebody's ass to sleep, then it could set up with Nasty Plot, and then with that 145 special attack of it, it's gonna nuke everything in front of it. And it's actually got pretty good coverage to boot. It's got Ice Beam and Ice Psychic, so pretty good stab dual type. Ice Beam is going to be eliminating so many good Pokemon, and Psychic's just a decent neutral stab. It's not like there's tons of opponents it'll particularly be aiming for. Psychic doesn't beat a ton of things, but it's still alright enough. It has Focus Blast for coverage, pretty unreliable in accuracy for a move, but it's probably going to need it because Steel resists both Ice and Psychic, and it pretty importantly also has Psy-Shock, so if it wants to absolutely murder a Chansey or a Blissey, it can use Psy-Shock because that hits the Pokemon defense. It can also taunt if it wants to be cheeky. It'll be putting people to sleep, and it can even run Fake Out if it wants to break some focus sashes. Maybe you're a lead Mega Jynx, I don't know. Actually, Fake Out will be actually pretty good for giving the Mega some safety. So in Gen 6, when you Mega Evolved, you didn't get the speed of your Mega Evolution yet until the turn after. So Fake Out could buy yourself a turn by flinching the opponent with that Fake Out. So that would work quite well. It's pretty interesting. I do think Mega Jynx would be good enough to probably be OU in Gen 6. Yeah, I would say so. It would probably be OU in Gen 6. In Gen 7, a little more debatable. You got a bunch of fast freaks like Tapu Koko running around. I think it might drop in Gen 7. But I think in Gen 6 it might be able to be OU. And being a pretty solid Ice type in Gen 6 would actually be so useful because Gen 6 was littered with Landorus and Garchomp. It was a good season for them. And then you even got stuff like Tangrowth running around decently often. Mega Jynx would nuke Tangrowth. I mean, it would be a slaughter. It would be awful. Tangrowth could put that assault vest on to boost its special defense, and it would still get cooked. Or frozen. Wouldn't say cooked. So yeah, I actually really would like if Mega Jynx was around. By the way, this little picture that's both in the thumbnail and right here is some DeviantArt someone made. And actually, it was my favorite of the Mega Jynx fan designs I saw. I will say this isn't official, although there was a leaked early version of Mega Jynx found in the code. There was not a model attached to it, so sadly, we do not get to see what they would have done for the design. Would have been pretty neat to see. We didn't get to see that. It's fine. I'm just pretty happy that we got to see the concept of Mega Jynx, at least in a gameplay-wise. But honestly, I think they should have gone through with it. I think they should have added Mega Jynx. I don't really see the harm in it. Maybe part of the reason they scrapped it is because they couldn't think of a good design for it. They should have just looked at fan designs, honestly. For real. Anyways, that's all I really had to say about Mega Jynx. There's a bunch of other changes I want to talk about. Maybe that could be another video. I don't know. But either way, yeah, have a good day. Maybe subscribe and like the video if you liked my rant. Either way, goodbye.